All right. Welcome to Rich Conversations. This is going to be another fantastic episode. We are going to talk. I want to talk art and film and writing with Gigi Flores. She was on an episode 176, all the way in El Paso, Texas. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So the last time we recorded, this was October.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah. Since then, what activities or experiences have you done that you've enjoyed?
What activities? I really got into ice skating or figure skating. I'm trying.
Okay.
So that's been something that I've been sort of practicing lately.
Okay.
It's
So this is
really
like
cool. I'm sorry, yes, go for it.
so it's obviously an indoor space, right?
Yes.
And I've seen photos of it. What do you like the activity itself? Like how do you feel and how does it help you in a way?
It is very different from anything else. I think just the idea or the fact that you're gliding like on the ice,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's very soothing. It's just a very, very particular feeling that you get when you're ice skating. And I love it. And I especially love it because it's cold, it's indoors. Um, the weather right here, it's terrible right now. We're getting
Whoa.
into the high 90s, high hundreds. So it's crazy. Yeah. So for the summer especially, I love ice skating because it's just cold weather for me.
Huh. Yeah, that's something I don't really think about, that opposite because we're here in Chicago, it's like um early 60s. What is that? Low
That's
60s?
lovely. That's lovely.
No, it's kind of chilly. We had like a few days in the 70s last week, and it was like, you know, we want more of this. But you were saying the
Mhm.
opposite, like finding activities in the cold you enjoy doing.
Yes. Yes, especially
Okay.
because of the high temperatures. It's just unbearable at times. So you want to stay indoors. I mean, there's a lot of people who really love just going outside, go for a hike on the hot weather.
Yeah.
But I mean, it gets really hot. So sometimes you want to like chill out or cool for a bit.
Wow. Yeah. How many times a week do you go?
I go at least 2 to 3 times a week.
Oh, that's
I
pretty
try.
that's pretty regular. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. That's a cool activity to get into for sure. Uh, okay. So the last time that we talked, you were taking this class called Mind Fiction.
Yes,
Can
mind in
you,
fiction.
yeah. Can you elaborate on that and like what you learned in it? I'm very fascinated.
Yeah, it was a very interesting class. I really liked it. It was very loaded and it was heavy. But that's the cool thing about that professor is that you know that when you get into his classroom, you're gonna learn actually something. And it was pretty awesome because we got to see a lot of movies. We got to read a couple of books, um, and learn about the different philosophies just of creating the mind and how the mind sometimes it's questioned if it can survive without a body. And this is something you see, for example, in the Matrix that people don't really think about it. But it's a very philosophical film on Rene Descartes' meditations and how he sort of like everything he believed at some point in time, he decided to just disregard everything he knew and create his own beliefs. And that's something that we see in the film of The Matrix when Neo is offered the blue pill or the red pill. That's something
Yeah.
that is in question right there.
So
And
which
so
which
throughout the
one is
entire
which?
semester,
The blue pill is what and the red pill is what?
I don't remember which one's which. One,
You don't want to get your
I don't
pills
remember.
confused.
I know, but I don't remember. I know all I know is that one of them is to continue in that sort of like illusion or
Yeah.
virtual reality, and the other one shows you what the world's like in real life. You know,
Yeah.
like they constructing that illusion of like. So I don't remember which one's which. I'm sorry. It's been a while. It's been since when? December, the last time that I
Yeah.
saw it. And I haven't seen the most recent one, so I'm so sorry. I'm really behind on it. But yeah, it was a very interesting class, honestly. It was a cool approach to things that sometimes you don't question much, like films. So yeah.
So like, how is it incorporated? Like who incorporates it into a film? Is it the director? Is it the writer?
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, sometimes, of course, well, it depends because sometimes you're gonna have writers who are just gonna write the screenplay, and then you're gonna have some writers who are also the directors of the film. Um, and it just depends when it's just a writer or they get the script. Also, the director has the last word on what's gonna be done with the film. But when you have writers, directors doing the same thing, I think it's a very cool approach because I think they know what they want to see um, on the screen and they know exactly what they wrote on the page and they wrote it for a reason. So I think it's a
yeah.
very cool approach to filmmaking when the directors make their own, like write their own stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you're into the films you like are the like mind kind of bending psychological ones, right?
I do, yes, I do. And I think just because I think it's interesting. For example, most recently, I've been waiting for Stranger Things for the last couple of seasons. So in the meantime, I've been watching or rewatching The Haunting of Hill House. I don't know if you've seen the series
So
on
this is
Netflix.
so you're saying when you say strange, you're saying like Stranger Things or Doctor Strange or
Yeah, yeah. Like Stranger Things. Like, have you seen it?
okay. I saw like the first two seasons. I stopped.
Okay, well, I'm waiting for the third one. No, for the fourth and fifth season
Okay.
to come out, which are
Okay.
coming, I think, in 2 days, I think, maybe.
Oh wow.
So
This is
in the
close.
meantime, I've been watching this other show, which is called The Hunting of Hill House.
Hunting of Hill House. Okay.
You haven't seen it?
I have not.
Oh my God, it's really good. It's
Is
a
it a TV show
horror.
or a
Yeah,
movie?
no, it's a mini series. It's like a horror
Okay.
thriller psychological mini series on Netflix. It's really good. It's very popular,
Okay.
and I love that one. And that has a lot to do with sort of like the mind and just like twisting things and time. It's really interesting.
So in preparation for this conversation, I watched The Shining last night for
Oh,
the
that's
first
good.
time. Yeah,
What?
yeah.
The first time?
The
Are you kidding me?
first time I ever saw
Jesus.
it. I'm trying. Okay, this is like real talk. The reason I want to
Yes.
have you on too is like I want to get into film and movies a little bit more. I feel like I a lot of times I don't remember what
Mm-hmm.
happens, and a lot of times too I feel like I know how everything's gonna go, so it's like it feels like a
Mm-hmm.
waste of time to me. I think really what it is that I'm just not finding movies in particular that I know I would
Mm-hmm.
enjoy in a way, or
Mm-hmm.
learning more about all the things that go into it. So
Mm-hmm.
so I took your advice and I watched The Shining.
Yeah. What do you
Even
think?
right when it came on. So right when it comes on, there's this like these shots of the landscape in like the mountains and like Colorado, and it has this really eerie music
Yes.
and these like deep off-putting notes. So
Yes.
it's like the sound they're communicating to you right away that this is going to be a little spooky, right?
Yes.
I took notes on it too, by the way.
Oh, that's cool. Tell me about it.
Okay.
Give me your opinion on it.
Okay, so I something that struck me is I
Mm-hmm.
really loved the symmetry of the shots. Like
Yeah.
like all the shots are very symmetrical, and like when you're in the hotel, first of all, this building, the hotel, uh it's beautiful, and it's weird to see it because it was filmed or it came out in 1980, so I don't know if it was like a
Mm-hmm.
contemporary if it looked contemporary
Yeah.
at the time, but now it looks like a total like you know, a lot of times bars, they'll decorate it to make you feel like you're
Yeah.
in this decade or that one. So it's definitely
Hmm.
like the 70s or 60s, something like that. And it had a lot of like browns and oranges and like uh green, like greens that were that like olive color a little bit. But everything in the shots, like if you're looking at a room, it's like the lights match up perfectly and you can see a lot of the perspective in these things. And even in the shots, I noticed that they used this technique of like following the subject
Hmm.
in this like
Yes.
continuous shot. So you're seeing the back of them. So those stuck out to me right away. What are your thoughts?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that is what's so beautiful about film. It is very visual medium. And I think that of course we like to see pretty things, and even if we're looking at something sort of like spooky, it has to be aesthetically pleasing to the eye. And I
Yeah.
think that's the reason for those shots, right? Because they want to show you as an audience member where you have to be looking at. So it's also the camera work just guiding you to where your eye should be looking at or be directed to. That is the beauty of it. I love it. What else do you think? What else? Did you
Okay.
like the story itself? Did you enjoy
So I was concerned right away
it?
that there's what do you call it, foreshadowing. So that he's
Hmm.
meeting with the for those of you that haven't seen the movie before, uh so, so this guy watches over the hotel for the period. This is up in Colorado in the mountains. And
Estes.
oh, Estes, okay, yeah, I've been over there.
Yeah, it's supposed to be there. Yeah.
So so for the summer everybody's there, but during the winter they like shut it down. And because it's very secluded, you can't with the snow get access to it. So they need someone to look it over. So this writer goes to it and he's thinking, hey, I can use this as some time to clear my mind, isolation. I can get this writing done. And then they let him know that actually a guy went crazy and he killed his two daughters and his wife with an axe. And he's like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
interesting note. And they say that, you know, the isolation was its what quote, there's a tremendous amount of isolation. Some people find solitude can be a problem. And he was like, no,
Mhm.
not me. So you can see the foreshadowing, okay, where you know issues are going to come up. uh so my question was like, he's there from he's there till May, but he gets there maybe in what, December or January or something.
I think so. I think he gets there like around November, probably late
November.
late November, early December. I will
Okay.
assume. I don't remember honestly, but yes, he's
So like,
there like for the entire winter.
so I don't know the answer this for sure, but like how much time passed until he, like the final scene? Like it doesn't go to May, right? It's pretty quick.
No, yeah, I would say probably over a couple of weeks or months. I think it's. I think they mention it in the film. I don't remember if they do. I didn't
It
watch it last
seemed to
night. I should
me,
have. You should have told me. You should have told me you were watching it so I could prepare myself.
uh, well, it seemed like he started going crazy kind of early. And I felt because they were like they would flash on screen like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Yeah,
And it was like, I don't like, you're gonna start going crazy after less than a week of being in isolation. I mean, come on. Like
yeah.
but then I thought throughout the movie, I thought they did a pretty good job of like showing in increments and then weaving it in with his son who's having these like psychic visions or powers or communicating. So I actually thought like they did a good job of like fixing that or like making it more
Mhm.
believable for me.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
now I'm curious, do you know like the average amount of shots per movie or no? Or like per thriller movie
Oh
or
no. No, I don't know how many shots or how many takes they made the film. Usually when it comes to film, it can take you from over 2 months, over 2 years maybe to film a
well I mean
movie.
like so this was like a psychological kind of thriller drama. It
Hmm.
seemed like they used like a minimal amount of shots. Like they really used the like they didn't do a lot of uh what do you call that? Cuts back and forth. It was very like
Hmm.
it seemed very just they let it play out more. So I'm
Hmm.
curious if that was like an element of the storytelling that they used.
I think so. I think it might be with some purpose from the director. And it also, like your question reminded me of the movie, what's it called? 1917, I think. Have you
Okay.
seen it? It's a war film. And it's basically the movie is shot in a way that you think that it's just one shot throughout the entire film.
Okay.
But of course, it's not, right? They have to make cuts and everything, but everything's placed in
Yeah.
a way in which you're tricked into believing that what you're seeing is just like an entire like one shot, and it's very
Yeah.
interesting. And I think going back to your question, there's a very specific episode in The Haunting of Hill House. It's actually episode 6, where it is that sort of like camera work where you are tricked also into believing everything's done in just one shot. So it is interesting. I
Yeah.
think you're gonna like that show, The Haunting of Hill House. It's a
Okay.
little bit scary. I mean, it is on the scarier side, but it's a really good story.
I thought yeah, and you can tell with the shots, they're very intentional of like when they would show a close up of the boy
Hmm.
and he's like freaking out. You know that
Oh yeah,
something's coming to the next shot. The very next shot, you know, it's
yeah,
going to reveal what he's looking at. Um,
yeah.
I thought that was really, really interesting. There was like this one part where he's in this, he's in like the lobby of the hotel and he's got this long desk and he's there on just a typewriter and he's like perfectly centered on the table, perfectly centered in the room. So
Hmm.
you have this beautiful shot and I just like wrote down like that's what where I want to be writing. I just want to be like that whole space. That was really cool. What did I say? Yeah, that looked like a cool thing. I thought Jack Nicholson had a really great performance. Like I don't know if there's another actor that could like pull that off.
Yeah.
Cause I felt like like at the beginning, I needed more convincing in a way, and I felt like through
Mm.
performance, he was a lot more convincing than I think other people could perform as.
I completely agree with that. And actually, I don't know. Well, this was your first time watching The Shining. I will assume that you haven't watched the sequel, right? Doctor Sleep.
No, I have not.
Okay, then you should.
Okay.
Then you have homework because that's actually after Danny becomes a man, right? He grows up and he actually goes back to the hotel. That's all I'm gonna tell you.
Okay.
Um, and there's also this sort of moment where he meets with his father, with the ghost of his father, right? I'm sorry, I'm spoiling you, but it's because I'm going to the point. But it's not Jack Nicholson, and you totally feel the difference. on the
Oh,
acting
really?
in the character. Yeah, it's because I think Nicholson, I don't know, he's fantastic at it. But throughout the movie, it's like you said, like you need a little bit of convincing, so he starts sort of like slow, but the character gains momentum until we get to that final part in that
Yeah.
classic of like, here's Daddy or here's Johnny,
Yeah.
when he loses his mind, So it's the building
Yeah.
and the momentum of the story, of the performance, of everything that's going into this finale, right? So yeah, you should watch Doctor Sleep as well. You're gonna like
Yeah. I thought it was
interesting.
uh his facial expressions. He was really able to like move his
Yeah.
face in different ways that were
Hmm.
really communicative of emotions or certain feelings or thoughts.
Hmm.
That was pretty impressive, I thought.
Yeah, I'm not an
Um,
actor, but I do feel that good actors know how to do that. Like, it's not just through just saying stuff, but also performing and embodying stuff and
yeah,
creating facial expressions, because that's the way we usually
yeah,
act in real life, right? We frown, or whenever we cry or we're mad, we
yeah.
put on these faces, and I think that's exactly what he did, and that's exactly what actors do, like really embody all of those emotions and then put it
Uh,
on the screen.
embody. Yeah, that's the right word for sure. That's
Hmm.
cool. Two other quick notes on it. I thought his
Yeah.
wife, I thought that relationship was a little, it was kind of a stretch. It seemed like, so the relationship didn't really work out, but like, how did they end up together to begin with? It felt like she was like this really naive woman, and he was like this,
Yeah.
intellectual. He's a writer, but it seemed like that relationship just like didn't work to begin with. So like, I don't know.
Hmm.
She was like a
It's
little
because
too ditzy for me.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's because
Yeah.
when we start the story, we start that they're together and all this, right? But in the book, actually, I think it's Wendy who explains how she met him and how they fell in love. So at her
Okay.
household, um, there was like family violence, and she was having problems with her parents and everything. So they
Mhm.
actually fell in love, and they just like ran away together, and they lived together, and then that's
Okay.
I think a couple of years pass by, and then we get to the point where we start the film. Yeah, but it's because we don't have a
Okay.
backstory in the film, but in the book we do. I think that's
Got
one of the
it.
main differences.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay. So at the end, the last shot is of this
Yeah.
photo on the wall.
Oh yes. Yes.
So it zooms in and like it's him. And there was okay. So it zooms in from the room all the way to this one photo on the wall. And it's like all these people in the ballroom. The ballroom is this like beautiful, there's some beautiful scenes there with the bar and the people and the music. Really elegant, and just you just want to be there in that space. But it had like 1921 on it, the year
Yeah.
1921, and it's like um Jack's character right there. Like
Hmm.
I didn't understand that. What was the significance of that?
He's trapped. He's trapped forever with all the other ghosts in the hotel. And I'm not sure if it's like if everything's like off place right there, because it doesn't make sense, right? Because of the time where the story takes place and the photo. But I think it just means that he's trapped forever and ever for eternity in the hotel, regardless of time, he's always going to be there.
Mm, okay.
That's my take.
Okay.
Don't take it as an answer. It's just my opinion.
Yeah, I still don't know. Like 1921, like that specific year. I don't know why they had that. They mentioned 1907 a few times because that was when it opened,
Mhm.
and then 1970 something is when the axe murder happened. But the 1921, I just didn't understand that. So I don't
I don't
know.
know about the date, but I think it's just, I don't know, like it was a party, it was at the big hall. So I don't know. Maybe I honestly don't know, but that's my take. Like for me, it's like
Yeah.
he's trapped in time. He's trapped in time at the hotel. That's what it
Yeah.
is, I think.
Huh. Well, wrapping up The Shining, uh do you know any other notes on so Stanley Kubrick, he directed it? Is
Hmm.
that what it was? Okay. Did he
Yes,
write it and direct it or
I don't remember if he wrote it. But something I know for sure is that Stephen King hates the movie.
really?
Yeah, he doesn't like it. He
Huh.
actually sold the rights of the book for that movie to be made. And then when it came out, since it is an adaptation, so you have to remember
Yeah.
when someone's telling you it's an adaptation, it's not what's on the page of the book, right?
Yeah. Right.
So after he saw it, he was really, really upset. He didn't like the movie, so he bought the rights of the book again. And there's another movie that Stephen King directed about The Shining, and this movie takes place at the hotel on Estes Park, which is the Stanley Hotel, and it's the place where he actually stayed one night, and that's where the Shining story idea was born. And I've visited the hotel, and it's a beautiful hotel. It's not. It has nothing to do like with what we see on the film of Kubrick's film,
Okay.
um, but it's a beautiful place. I love the place. So if you look it up, like Stephen King's The Shining, like the other film, you're gonna like see that it's like different. Yeah, but I
Interesting.
honestly like a lot more Stanley Kubrick's version. It's really good, and Jack
Okay.
Nicholson is just like over the board.
Yeah, great performance. That stuck out to me.
Yes.
Um, you read any other books by Stephen King?
Yes, I've read. Which is another one? The Pet Cemetery. That's a good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another book that I read of him. Yeah, it's also there's also a movie that Stephen King made, and then there's another movie like a remake that came out recently. Well, not recently, but a couple of years ago, and
Okay.
it's good. Yeah, it's good, and it's about
Yeah.
a
I've
haunted like cemetery where you put dead things and they come back to life. So yeah, it's interesting.
sounds original. Very original.
Yes.
Uh, I read let's see, what do I got here? I've never read a fiction book from him, but I have read nonfiction. Um, I thought it was over here. Huh. Can't find it. I so it's Stephen King on writing, and it's actually like his writing process and like how to write. And
Oh, okay.
it's a really excellent book. I wish I knew where it was more. I rearranged. I went through all my books. I got rid of four totes, big totes of books.
Oh, dang. That's a lot. That's a lot of books.
Yeah, and there's still a lot surrounding me. I don't know where it is. I know I didn't get rid of it because that's like such an excellent book, and it gives you like
Mhm.
says if you're a professional writer, you should be able to sit down and write it in like 3 months. So and he talks about no adverbs, like get rid of adverbs and
Mhm.
use your toolbox. So use words that be genuine
Yeah.
with it and don't try to be someone that you're not, and then just say it. just say it, just write it, and follow like a schedule. And there's no such thing as this, like, if you're writing when you're like inspired, or only when you're inspired, you're not like a writer. That's like amateur. You got to sit down, you got to write it, and boom, get it done in like 3 months, So
Yeah.
I read that
Yeah,
book,
it is a craft.
wrote my first book in 6 weeks. So there's some truth to that for sure. Great advice. That's a great book. Anyone who's looking to write more, read that book. That's like the best book I can recommend. But getting into writers a little bit. Okay, so what fascinates you about the minds of writers?
I think every mind is just its own little world, which allows us to get into very original stories, I would say. We all have
Yeah.
and go through very different things. We're born into very different situations. And I think that it all contributes to your writing process. And I think that's what's so wonderful about a writer's mind, that it's very unique, and it's very unique to your own persona.
Yeah, isn't that, writing is such like a intimate thing. It's like you're literally writing what you're thinking.
Yeah,
and you just say it out there.
exactly. Yes. Yeah. And I worked for a podcast which is called Words in a Wire.
Okay.
And recently, because we produce some of the content and everything, and we get to listen to the interviews before they actually go onto the podcast. And there was this one writer, Benjamin Alire Sainz, who said that in order to write and have like some convincing writing, you have to get in the wound. If it's not hurting you, if writing's not personal, if writing's not bringing those old wounds back into your life, you're not doing a good job. You're not going to get good writing, because writing has to be in some way painful, to your own person. It has to be. And it's like you said, it's very personal, right? But if we don't get very personal, then we're not doing a good job, I think.
If it's not personal, then it's probably more superficial and surface level writing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So in terms of fiction, what do you think are like 3 things or qualities that make it effective writing?
I think you have to create a good story. That would be one of them. Make whole characters. You don't want a character. I mean, of course, you want a character that's going to relate to your audience, will probably relate to you, and you have to let those characters evolve. Nobody likes a flat character. Nobody likes to read about some superficial person. I mean, you really want to develop those characters. I think that's some elements that are just truly key, and just like you said in the beginning, like, be true to yourself. I think that's also important when it comes to fiction writing, nonfiction, poetry, whatever genre you're writing in.
Now, when you say like developing character, how does one demonstrate the development of a character?
I think when you introduce a character, of course, you're going to introduce it like probably very superficial, but throughout the story and through a series of circumstances, you're going to see the growth and the actions that this character takes. And I think that plays a lot into what we see of a character as a little person that we're creating on the page, right? And you really want that person to make mistakes, because that's what people do, right? And we want that character to learn from those mistakes and probably redeem himself or herself or themselves from those mistakes. So I think that's what truly gets us to see a character in development, I mean, that's my take. Take it or leave it. This
So
is
you could,
personal.
but you could, I could see where you could easily transcribe that or apply it to life, right? Like if you
Yeah.
as a person, if you're not like learning from your mistakes or developing, then you're kind of a flat character, aren't you?
Yes, you are. Exactly. You want to be rounded. You don't want to be flat.
Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. So what films have you seen lately?
Lately, well, the other day I went to see this horror film called Men by Alex Garland. I don't know. I don't remember the name of the director. I know it's Alex something. Um,
So it's just called
and
Men.
he's also Men. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. And it's weird, you know. Have you seen any movies from this production company A24?
I have not, but
Have not.
my very, very close friend Joe is obsessed with A24. He's got like A24 merchandise that he wears.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool. It is. I mean, yeah. Okay, so the production company, the studios, they know how to pick their films. I think they're very unique.
Okay.
All of them, all the ones I've seen from them. Um, yeah, the movie's really weird. It's strange, but it's good. I liked it.
Okay. So it's weird in what way?
That's really hard to explain. I think you have to watch it in order to get like the weirdness of it. Yes.
Okay. Is it in the story or is it in its like how it's shot or what?
It isn't the story and it is how it's shot. Yeah, it's both of
Okay.
them.
Okay.
But it's good. I mean, I liked it.
Okay. Uh yeah, I think you had mentioned before when we were messaging, you saw the new Harry Potter movie, right?
Oh, fantastic. The Beast, yeah, and the Secrets of Dumbledore. Yes, I did.
So how was that? There's no book to adapt that from, right?
I don't think so.
Huh. Did you
Not gonna
enjoy
lie,
it?
I didn't like it. No, I didn't
Oh,
like
really? Why? Okay, so why is that? Break it down for us.
it. I think the story is very weak. There's really no secrets. Yeah, the story is just weak. I feel like it doesn't really capture the magic, and I think that's another reason why. Like, I feel like we, everyone is well, at least myself. I'm very obsessed with with the magic that Harry Potter brought into my life, especially
Yeah.
in the film. Um, and they don't capture that anywhere on this film. So yes, I feel like yeah, the story is not as good as I wished it
Now,
was.
did
I
you
was very excited because it was
okay.
about Dumbledore. I was very excited about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just fell apart a little bit for me.
Huh. Now, did you watch the other Dumbledore movie? Isn't there like another one before this one?
The Secrets of Grindelwald. Yes, I did.
So did you feel the same way about that one or are they running out of material or what?
I feel like they are. I mean, the entire Fantastic Beasts saga. I don't like it. I don't.
Okay.
It
Now,
just I feel like it's just not very good. That's it. That's just me, my personal take. Don't get offended. If you love it, keep loving it. But yes.
what was your experience with the Harry Potter series? Like reading and watching the movies, like what was your kind of experience around it?
I think it's also because when Harry Potter came out, it was something very new. It was kind of like, um, I don't know, it was just a very different experience from what I've had. I was a kid when Harry Potter came out, and I remember every year we waited 1 year to go to the movies and watch Harry Potter, you know? And it was very exciting. And every single film left you just wanting more and wanting that year to go by as fast as possible so you could go back to the movie theater and enjoy the next
Yeah.
movie. And you
Yeah.
grow up with the characters. And that's something that I feel like there's attachment to the characters, there's attachment to the story, you know? I remember when we went to the movies and I saw the sixth film, which is when Dumbledore actually dies. The entire like movie theater, in the entire room, people were crying, and I was crying because I was so attached to the image of this old professor, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that the story in Fantastic Beasts lacks. You know, that attachment, that growth, that connection with the audience. Yeah, it's something that I just don't feel anymore, you know, in those
So
movies. It's very
do you
strange.
think we were talking about performances by actors earlier?
Yeah.
Do you feel like Eddie Redmayne isn't doing
Oh,
as good of a performance, or is it the writing?
it is the writing because he's fantastic. I think the
He's a fine
performances by
actor.
the actors,
I've seen some of his work.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love Eddie Redmayne. One of the very first movies I saw of him, it's called Like Minds,
Okay.
and it's sort of
That's
a thriller. Yes, it's very old.
okay.
I think it was his first acting role, like professional, like in movies. I think it was the
Okay.
first one. I think so. I might be wrong, but I might be right at the same time. Um, and yeah, he's a really fine actor. Jude Law is fantastic, you know.
Yeah, Jude Law's pretty good
But
too.
yeah, it's the writing.
Huh.
I feel like
So
when you
what
don't have a strong enough story to tell, that is gonna be visible in the filmmaking process as well.
so what is the story lacking? Like what
More depth, I think. That's my opinion. Yeah, because this is about the secrets of Dumbledore, but the
yeah.
secrets that we see, they're really not secrets. I mean, it's stuff that we've known
Mm.
because the author of the Harry Potter saga revealed it to the audience because people who are truly Potterheads know it beforehand. So there's really no secrets, and that's what I was like intrigued about it. You know,
But if
that
this
was
is a
intriguing about the
prequel,
title. Yes, makes no
but
sense.
it's a prequel though, so like theoretically in our heads we shouldn't know these secrets already,
Exactly,
right?
but we
Yeah.
know them because we've seen the story already. So it's kind of like, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if it's a prequel, you should bring new elements that are really and truly secrets, right? But there's none.
Okay.
So, like, whatever. Yeah.
In your opinion, what's the difference between writing fiction, like a fiction
Mhm.
novel, versus writing a what writing for film? Is that like screenplay it's called?
Great. It's screenwriting. Yes. Well, it's very different. Just technically, it is a very different approach. In screenwriting, you don't get to show as much as you do, for example, in fiction. One page in screenwriting, it can be just pure dialogue, while one page in that's actually not a good description of what I'm trying to get to. But yes, it just looks very different. In one page, for example, whenever I write fiction, I'm just writing details and details and details upon details. Um, and in screenwriting, there's just limited space for you to do that. So you have to be very
But
precise.
also, yeah,
Yeah, you have to be very precise. I mean, I think both genres will need precision, of course, but it's just technically, I think it just feels different too.
yeah, because then it's not your job as the writer to show, right? Then that's like
Mhm.
well, this is something I want to ask you is like, do you think film is the highest form of art in regards to storytelling? Because it
I don't
seems like there's
know.
so many
I cannot
elements
answer
that
that.
go into it.
Yes, but
There's
if you
no
think about
no
it,
right or wrong answer,
no, yeah, I
but
know.
like there's so many creative inputs
Yes,
that it's such a delicate balancing act. I feel like you were talking about writing, and we're talking about like someone who prepares costumes and props, and then the way people shoot it and then edit it, and then like music, and there's whereas like if you write a book, it's basically just like here it is. And
yes, but also
I don't
if
know.
you write a book, I don't know. Yeah, because I love both. I love books and I love film, and I would even incline more towards film. 'Cause I grew up watching before I was reading. I was watching movies, um, and I have a very profound love for film. So I don't know. I think it might be. 'Cause that's true because you have other elements other than writing, right? You have the visuals,
Yeah,
you have production, design, production set, people who are behind the scenes, special effects, everything, right?
yeah.
It might be, maybe, yeah, maybe that's a yes.
So then to follow up that question, what do
I
you
don't know.
think
I'm still
about
doubting.
like augmented reality and virtual reality as far as storytelling goes? Like, will that now transcend just what we think of film right now, just watching it on a screen and getting the sound and the sound effects? Like, is it going to take it up another level as far as storytelling?
We're gonna end up in the Matrix for some reason. We're going to back to the beginning. We're gonna be in the Matrix. Um, I really don't know. I mean, I suppose it will take you to another level. I think everything's been taken to another level if you think of just the evolution of film,
Yeah.
in the last decade, with special effects and visual effects and how realistic they are, maybe, I mean, it is possible, I think, I want to assume. I don't know.
Yeah. I was okay. So, so I was back in Wisconsin this last week, and I usually don't listen like long form podcasts. I don't consume a lot in general, but this is a time I'm just on the tractor for like 10 hours a day. So I'm listening to particular podcasts and interviews that are like evergreen. And there's one with this scientist, and he was talking about like right now the internet is digital. Like
Mhm.
you go online and it's digital, but like what a big goal of the human species right now is to map out the human brain. So there's like over like a million neurons in the brain,
Mhm.
and we don't know what it does. Like we don't know, but
Yeah.
now with technology and we're able to like scan things and like we have more and more information and data to figure this out, but eventually we can know what every single neuron in the brain does. And
Wow.
instead of connecting digitally to the internet, it'd be connecting neurally to the internet. So like
That's crazy.
so everything is based on neurons. And so you're in El Paso and you could tell me,
Mhm.
I'm not really feeling well today. And then I could access the neural internet and feel what you're feeling because of the neurons. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. No, that's okay. When you said another level, I wasn't expecting that level. That is scary, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. They're starting these, or they've been doing these for a while with like say like it all starts with like, say someone becomes paralyzed, right? How do
Yeah.
you, so to learn more about their brain and then connect those like neurons to like artificial limbs or things like that
Mm-hmm.
for them to actually be mobile again, or do things again. It kind of
Mm-hmm.
starts with prosthetics and things like that. Um, but I was thinking about that with like storytelling. Like, what if you're watching a film, or you're inside this like three-dimensional space and you're able to like feel what the characters are feeling? Like, what,
Oh
how wild
wow.
that would be. uh
That could be so wild, but that would be okay. If we're just talking about storytelling, I think that would be pretty cool because it's like we were mentioning previously, you get to embody the story,
yeah,
embody the character, and leave that story. So instead of
yeah,
the character playing in the book, it's going to be you in the book. I think that's cool.
yeah, yeah. It's
I think the
fascinating with
only the yes, the only
technology.
issue will be just be careful picking out the book that you want to be in. I don't know.
Yeah, and how far do you go in the ethics? And
Yeah.
yeah, so many, so many questions.
Yes, there's so many things, yes. But yeah, that's an interesting
So,
one. That's cool.
but so you were saying with storytelling is that, now when you say a good story, you mentioned earlier three things: create a good story, create whole characters that evolve, and then be true to yourself. When you say good story, what do you mean by that?
I think a good story it's gonna take you through an entire journey. I think um, for me a good story it's I can only think of the show that I just watched, which is The Haunting of Hill House. I'm so sorry that I kept going back to it. Um, but for me, that story explains everything that it has to explain within what's going on in the series. We have a beginning, we have a mid part, we have an end, and
Mhm.
everything is interconnected through the story writing. So, something that we see in the beginning, we see it in the end. Something that we see in the end, we see it in the middle of it, and we see the continuity of things um, within the story. I think
Yeah.
something that I always tell my students is you have to be really careful when creating a story. Don't leave plot holes. They're always try to explain the reason why a character decided to do something. Because if it's out of nowhere, then I don't think that's how we perceive things in real life. I think there's always like
Okay.
a reason behind the things we do, the decisions we make. Um, and I think that a story also has the need for that, good reasoning, I would say.
Okay. So you're saying journey, you're using the word journey with storytelling. Do you feel that through social media, we're all storytelling to other people the narrative or journey of our lives?
I think we are, yes. I take, for example, okay, so when it comes to social media, the one that I use the most is Instagram, just because I get to upload photos.
Yeah.
I'm a photographer, so I love photography, right? And yes, I've been going back the other day. I was like, okay, so why did my feed look like a couple of years ago? And I went down my feed, my own profile, and I started looking at the things that I was doing in 2020. That we were at the pandemic, and all the photos that I have are from home. And before
Mm.
that,
Yeah.
I went to Denver to visit my best friend for the first time. So I get to see photos of that journey for the first time, the first time that I was um, in Denver. And then before that, I remember that I used to just go to a very special coffee shop, that I love here, that it's no longer here in El Paso. Or the location, it's no longer there. Um, And just going through those photos, it's like, oh my gosh, I remember when I used to go to this place and I loved that place and it was our hangout
Yeah.
place, you know? So I think we are telling this our own stories, you know, and the journey of our own stories in a very special way, I think.
Yeah. Your Instagram's pretty good. And I
Thank
like
you.
your the aesthetic. You have like a certain aesthetic,
Mm,
and I
yes,
appreciate
I
that. And
try.
that's kind of similar
Thank
to,
you.
I'm sure you've, like when you're watching movies, you're looking at the aesthetics and the intention of um, using all these different elements from the way it's shot to like the color scheme and like, yeah, it's cool.
Thank you. I appreciate
So how did you then develop that aesthetic?
that. I
Is it
don't
through
know. I
trial and
actually
error or?
don't know. It's not like I planned it out. It's not like I said I'm gonna have this aesthetic. But I think it's just happened. It's just the way I like things to look like, I would say.
Yeah.
Um, like I mentioned, I've been doing photography for almost 10 years, and you develop an eye for things.
Okay.
So even if I'm looking at a plant or whatever thing I'm looking at, I try to find an angle that is aesthetically pleasing to the eye, and I try to capture that. And I think
Okay.
that's what I do with my feed. I try to make it look pretty. And if you're gonna look at something, at least it's gonna look nice. That's
Yeah,
my
it
intent.
it does look nice. Uh,
Thank you.
well, we're closing up on time here, so I got two more questions for you. Okay,
Sure.
what's something you're curious about recently?
Something I'm curious about. Okay. So one thing that comes to mind is with everything like we were talking about, going like digital and everything.
Hmm.
I'm very curious about how this sort of like meta thing when it comes to Facebook, it's gonna work.
Okay.
And how virtual reality can actually become like the actual reality.
Mm.
You know, that's something that I've been like lately thinking of, and like we talking about the Matrix today, just like reminded me of that. I had forgotten about that. But
Yeah.
yes, I'm just very curious about how things will look like in probably the next 2 decades for us. Maybe we're not going to be just through Zoom. We're going to be like in another space. I don't know. It's weird. Yes.
Yeah, I've been educating myself more about Web3. And have you
Mm,
heard of Web3?
no, I haven't.
Okay. So we're in the like third stage of the internet where
Hmm.
we're entering the third stage. So like the first one is like computers communicating to each other. I guess the first one they really
Hmm.
consider is like commerce. So commerce is now done. It all started with
Yes.
the information revolution. So like I think Alan Turing is the kind of like the um, godfather of all this. We figured out how to measure data and information.
Hmm.
So we can now take a scientific approach to it in a way, and it just evolves and evolves. So commerce, two is digital and social. So now you can communicate among people instead of just like commerce. And three is like this it's like a decentralized internet. Whereas if you look at the 20th century, everything is like top down. It's like we have three TV
Hmm.
stations. You have your
Yes.
four radio stations in the area, and the movie theaters are all controlled. What you see on film is like all by big production companies, you know, in particular areas. So
Yes.
you're only getting like one kind of view of everything. But now the internet flattens it all out, and you can literally just whatever interest you have, whatever you're into, you can find people in communities from all over the world. You're not
Hmm.
just like inhibited by your geographical location. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's pretty wild. So everything's becoming more and more local. Uh,
Yes.
And it's very fascinating. And then with like the internet, I think this is part of like Web3. You're talking about virtual reality, and then there's
Yeah.
also like augmented reality. And so more and more, everything is about these. So it has to do with like physics. So we're creating these intelligent chips. We're making everything intelligent around us, from like our watches to our bedrooms to our desks and our lights and like everything. Um, so the augmented part is where you're like actually living in it. It's not like you, whereas before there's this separation between, okay, I'm here and I'm going to jump on my computer and access the internet.
Hmm.
But now the internet is like all around us and like the
Yeah.
internet of things. And I'm curious about like vision. There was like this push for like glasses, like Google glasses or something, but they're also talking
Okay.
about like contact lens that have microchips in
Hmm.
them, where like if I'm looking at you, say, I don't know how it would work with Zoom, but say like I'm meeting face to face with somebody, but with like facial recognition, the computer in the lens can pull up your biography and I can access everything online about you at the same time as I'm like talking to you right in front of you. Like
What the heck? Okay.
yeah, yeah. So it's like it's uh it's very fascinating. It's like we have information and access to information. So it's like all everything is like fusing together in a way.
Mm.
I don't know if that
Oh
explains it.
wow, that's crazy. I think that's another thing. Now that you mentioned sort of like the lens microchip, I think Elon Musk wanted to do the same thing, but in the brain, so you could access like all
Yeah.
internet information, which I think is
So
just
I
very
think
scary.
that's the Neuralink thing. So I think that's what we were talking about
Okay.
earlier with the like neural
Yes.
internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
we live we live in a very interesting time.
We do.
Uh
We do
and I
actually.
think
Yes.
but it's still like we're kind of on the frontier of a lot of this stuff, and
Yeah.
we don't have enough sample size to know what we're doing is good or bad.
Hmm.
Like different things that we're doing, we don't know. Like say social media, for example, it's designed to keep your attention. And
Hmm.
we're seeing like a rise in depression and anxiety. And we don't know if this is actually good for us. It's like
Yeah.
we don't have enough sample size and research on it yet, right?
Yes. Exactly. I think it's gonna take us a while, but we might get there, and we might get to the point of like that contact lens with the microchip. I think it might happen. Maybe very, very, very in the far future, but it will.
Yeah, I, I'm like so interested in these things right now, like technology. I read this book. Um, this is really what got me into it. Was like this book Homo Deus. I say I feel like I say it to everybody now, but like he wrote the book Sapiens. I think it's over there somewhere,
Okay.
and
I
it's
know
like
the guy.
about the
Okay.
brief history of human species, right?
Hmm.
So Homo Deus is like the future of humankind,
Okay.
and yeah, biotechnology. So like humans, we want to live healthier, longer, and happier. So a lot of the decisions around technology is all being driven by that, like those three things. Um, yeah. So it's like, how do we live better? Which is interesting.
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question,
No one
but
does. but we're curious
No,
as
no one
humans
does.
and we want to
Yeah,
find out.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So my
Or
last
maybe
question for you.
we not. I don't know. I don't even know what it means.
Yeah. Only time will tell. That's for
Mhm.
sure.
That's true.
Okay. So what's something that excites you within the next 3 months?
Within the next 3 months,
So
I
this
think that
summer,
I'm going
I guess.
back to school. I know I just got out of school, but what's exciting for me is that I'm going back to school for my last year of grad school, which
Okay.
is going to be nerve-wracking, but also very exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
I don't know what else do you want me to just say. I have nothing interesting like happening in 3 months. I don't think.
So you don't
Yes.
think, but you don't know that. You don't know what's
Yeah, I don't
interesting to
know that.
me or listeners or viewers. Are you taking
Yes,
any
I mean
trips
that's.
or do you have any activities planned?
I'm gonna go to Houston in July, but that's
Okay.
like 2 months away. So yes,
What are you
but
doing in
yeah,
Houston?
I'm gonna go visit some family, and I'm gonna get new ice skates. So that's exciting. Yeah, that's exciting.
That is
I'm excited about
exciting.
that. That's like
Yeah.
yeah, that's good. You were
Yeah.
right.
Do you
Yes.
okay, I'm curious. What do you do for the 4th of July if you do anything?
Okay, so that's okay. So I'm from Mexico, but I live here in El Paso, and I've been living here for the past 12 years. So 4th of July, I personally don't celebrate it because, like I said, I'm from Mexico, so I celebrate my Independence Day. However, I think we've learned when we have some friends who are from here from the States and they celebrate it with barbecues and everything. So we get invited to the 4th of July celebration, and I think we just spend time
Yeah.
with them, just gathering, and then
Yeah.
we get to see the fireworks. That's what we do. I mean, we get invited to other people's celebrations. That's what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I'm curious about so El Paso celebrates 4th of July uh pretty
We
big, just
do. I
like
mean, we
any
do.
other. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, there's fireworks all over the place for the 4th of July here in El Paso, here in town, so people can go and see the fireworks, and you also get to see a lot of people just in the parks, grilling stuff. Um, but yeah, I think it just varies from family to family. Me, my family, we're very, very Mexican,
Yeah.
so we celebrate, yeah, in September.
Okay. Very nice. Well, yeah, it sounds like you got a lot going on. Thanks again for coming on. I appreciate this.
No, thank you for having me. It's great to see you and great to talk to you. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, thanks again. And thanks for sharing all this knowledge about film and writing and fiction and storytelling. Storytelling. Let's go and live our stories and journeys to the best of our abilities. All right. Thanks again.
Thank
See
you.
you